Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Namita Kumar Swami, and I'm a mother to a 3.5-year-old daughter and a part of the Logosophical Foundation. The theme for today is educating children for life. What does this mean? How can we do it? What are the benefits? Well, Juliana is going to be digging into all of these useful elements today.
So thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to start this presentation bringing the purpose of the logosophical pedagogy, which is to educate the whole being, focusing on moral and ethical values for life as a way of collaborating first with oneself and then with humankind. In the logosophical conception, the human being is a bio-psychological spiritual being. So when we say educating the whole being, we mean to focus on these three parts. Now, in the logosophical conception, our life is made of several lives. It's like living many lives within one large life. So if, for example, I consider the professional life to be the most important, educating for life will focus a lot on this area. But if other lives are equally important, such as family life, relationships with friends, my inner life, life in the community, then educating for life will require different skills. We can summarize that educating for life and educating the whole being mean to follow a learning process that is geared toward inner learning, cultivating permanent values, meaning that these are not values for one specific moment or for a circumstance, but for all lives, for the entire life. A process that encourages constant improvement and a process that has a positive impact in all areas of life, and then that extends to the life of others around us. But one thing that I have been observing is that schools, they focus a lot on teaching abilities that try to solve the academic problem, the professional problem. But they do not address the fact that we will need a lot more in order to live satisfying lives. We have a human problem as well. And having a successful career, for example, doesn't mean that we have a happy and fulfilling life as a whole. So in the past years, I have been observing a trend linked to what's called soft skills. Many educators and researchers, they're perceiving this need to teach moral and ethical values in schools and include them in the regular curriculum. This term, soft skill, means exactly a type of skill that it's not connected to subject knowledge, but more with the ability to navigate well in society, in relationships in general. How to teach these skills effectively? How to teach them for life and not for a moment or a circumstance, which sometimes makes someone imitate an imposed behavior without actually understanding the value it has for life. Now, when we say that it is important to cultivate these values in our lives, I mean that first we need to build a concept of this value, to know the importance they have in life, to practice them consciously in order to prove their benefit, not only as a behavior that can be imposed on us and that we exhibit just for the sake of the moment. And one of the aspects that the logosophical pedagogy highlights is that teaching is extremely related to learning. Therefore, one of the principles we use is that one cannot give others something they do not possess. So, can I actually ask for patience if I do not know how to be patient? Can I ask for tolerance if I do not practice tolerance in my conduct? Any moral teaching not endorsed by the example of the one who gives it acts in the opposite direction on the soul of the recipient. There are people who don't need to say anything. They teach through their example. Interesting is the fact that some can also destroy a positive lesson with a negative example. Now, another element, in addition to the example, is the use of natural stimuli instead of artificial stimuli. Stimuli are essential for learning. And according to logosophy, stimuli drive our will to accomplish something. So when we're asking our children to help us out at home, for example, sometimes it's very easy to tell them that they have to do it, that if they don't do it, they'll lose a privilege or they'll be punished in some way by not being able to do something they like. Then a lot of times things get done because maybe they fear the punishment, but because they want to get rid of that task, but not because they truly understand the value of that task. Would this really teach them a value for life or only for a moment? If, for example, they learn about the importance to collaborate, to be an active member of the family, to observe how their parents help them in so many ways, they would also be willing to collaborate, to contribute, but not because this is being imposed on them, but because they would feel and understand why this is important. The results and the benefits would be a lot more permanent, and they would extend to many other areas of life and extending to the future. So related to this, I was recalling some experiences, and I recalled a situation where I registered my daughter to a new activity. And after the first class, the teacher told me that she was impressed because during the activity, my daughter was always asking her if she could help her in any way and if she needed help. And observing that, I felt that she didn't take that as an imposition, but as something that came naturally from inside herself. So it becomes clear that when these values are built from the inside, we create fewer problems in the future. When we talk about cultivating these values, it's also very important to know which resources we can count on to accomplish this task. To start, logosophy has a method that provides continuous guidance. And logosophy also introduced me to inner resources that I wasn't aware I had. To start, my inner world. And within this inner world, I learned that I have a mental and a sensitive systems. And both of these systems, they have faculties or tools which need to be trained and developed with a different perspective. One of these faculties of my mental system is observation, to observe with the focus on my inner reality, seeking elements that will help me become a better human being and to develop the skills that are not only for a moment, but for life. One of the analogies we use for observation is of a flashlight. We can turn this flashlight to the outside to see everything around us, but also to the inside, to light up what I have within me. And by observing inside, I have been able to select better what I do not want, and what I want to create within me. When I observe a negative trait in a person, instead of simply criticizing it, I can take that observation and reflect on how others would react if I acted that same way. This would reinforce my purpose to avoid feeding that thought within me, if it actually existed. And as a parent, I made the purpose of trying to be attentive and use as many opportunities as possible to make observations which would be valuable to cultivating some of these values for life we're talking about. It's not easy to focus on these important elements, on the values for life. But with time and practice, we start to make this more of a habit. I feel that when we dedicate time and effort to cultivate these values, it's like cultivating little seeds. They need time, they need care to flourish, but when they do, they expand our lives and they create new perspectives. And then they will naturally expand into the lives of others. And this is what really enriches our existence as human beings.
Thank you so much, Juliana. You brought again some more elements to think about and to take away. That brings us to the end of today's session. So thank you all once again, and see you next time.